believe in miracles.
Hi everybody, welcome back to my May Cause Miracles interview series, where I interview my beautiful friends on their miracle mindset and the incredible miraculous experiences that they have in their lives as a result of choosing a positive perspective. And today I have Tara Stiles. Tara Stiles. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me. This is fun.
Fun, I know.
You have your own show.
I have my own show, and Tara Stiles is my guest. So we have Tara. Tara has been called the Yogi Rebel, and she has an incredible studio here in New York City, which I'm assuming everybody that's watching knows who you are. But she's got Strala Yoga, and she has a very, very miraculous life. She accomplishes so much, and somehow time stretches for you, I think. Do you feel that?
It feels like that, yeah.
Yeah. Like 1 minute she's leading a yoga class, then she's shooting a video, then she's like making peanut butter and jelly with her husband, and then like petting cats on the street, and like Instagramming everything at the same time. And I think that what happens when we get into that flow state of living with a miracle mindset, time does begin to expand.
Right.
And has that been the case for you?
Definitely. And I've, experienced it not being in the flow and, obviously feeling that push from the current when you're in the flow. And just the more time you spend in the flow, the better it feels. So when you're out of the flow, and all the things you need to do to get, back into the flow. So I think it's pretty cool.
What kind of thoughts take you out of that miracle flow?
I think thinking, for sure.
Yeah.
So a big part of it for me is sort of making up my own rules as I go along, and then having the flexibility to break them and then make them again and sort of find that own path. I think it's hard when you start looking at, well, maybe I should be doing this, or maybe I should be doing that, or what does that person want me to do, or what's that opportunity, and, all those other influences. And I mean, we all know we're our best when we, are able to follow our own intuition and get into the flow. But, when I feel myself thinking about all that stuff that drags me into that sort of stressed out mode, I just sit and breathe and connect back with myself and figure out the new rule to make up for that day. And pretty quickly it just gets back into the current. So
that's really neat to hear that, making the new rule to make up for that day. So if we're identifying that we're in a very funky place and we're swimming against the stream, to decide for a new rule.
Yeah.
It's like an undercover way of saying I'm forgiving myself.
Exactly. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, sure.
So self-forgiveness is a huge part of shifting that perspective. And so what happens when you have that moment of stillness and you have that shift? What's the experience for you?
It feels great. I feel sort of like a superhero. You feel like you can do anything. Everything's lining up for you. Like you always talk about, miracles are natural. It's who we are. I mean, your life is a whole miracle. So what's the problem, or what's the disjoint, is when we're off. So we're all supposed to be on. So I think recognizing those things and our habits that get us off, and then recognizing the things that we can do to bring us back on, are important to, keep us on the path that we're already meant to be on.
Yeah, so it's pretty much coming back to where we belong.
Yeah, because it feels good. I mean, anytime that I've felt like I'm in the flow, or I'm in, my thing that's happening, and that's when obviously like opportunities happen easier, things happen easier, that person you're thinking about calls you, that great idea pops into your head and it ends up working, all the right doors open, all that kind of stuff. That's all stuff that's meant to be. It's not like, oh, I did some trick with the universe while I was meditating.
Right.
And then that happens. So I feel like, that's all the stuff that we're meant to do. And, at least for me, and, I think pretty much everybody, when you start doing the things that you run into walls and you're thinking you should be doing that, or you think you should have that, those aren't necessarily the things that you are supposed to be doing.
Right, so. The I shoulds and all that kind of. And I think it's really important to emphasize that miracles occur naturally, and that when they're not occurring, something has gone wrong. That's the message from A Course in Miracles. So when something has gone wrong, it means that we've gotten in the way, that our fear mind has gotten in the way, that the obstacles that we perceive are in the way, and we're not allowing ourselves to center into that flow. I assume that you were not always in this flow state, so I'm also assuming that your yoga practice was a huge part of bringing you into a miraculous life.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
And you found yoga at a very young age. I remember you telling me this, like in the woods.
Yeah. I'm a weirdo.
Totally. We're weirdos. Like, why weren't we friends when we were
friends?
Where were you when I was having an existential crisis?
I know. It would have been nice, right, to share that with somebody. I didn't want to play with the Barbies, and I couldn't really explain that to anybody. I wanted to be out in the trees, like, you know, connecting with nature and all that. But yeah, you know, I had those experiences very early on, and for me it was almost like an over emotional experience that I didn't know what to do with. I mean, I was really sensitive, and I cried a lot in school, and I stood up for, you know, kids that were getting bullied, and I just sort of did things that the cool kids weren't doing and all that stuff, and I knew that felt good for me, and that felt like the right thing to do. But, you know, I didn't have you there to like, okay, let's go talk about this. But, you know, so, you know, somewhere along, I knew that I wasn't wrong in all of those thoughts and feelings, but somewhere along the line, you start kind of going and doing the things that you think you should be doing. And for me, finding my own way of expressing myself through yoga again, you know, after my teenage years, that brought me back to all of those same feelings and that same, oh my gosh, I'm right back in the woods, right back when I was a little kid feeling great. And, you know, so for me, it's just coming back to those whenever I get stressed and frazzled now.
So you take your fear to the mat and transform it in that moment and create a new commitment for that day, right? Reprogram your mind and connect back to that miracle mindset. And I think that this is a through line that's coming in all of these videos and interviews, is that it's not about being in a miracle mindset all the time. It's about knowing when you're out of alignment and having the tools to get back into alignment. Yeah, it's just really subtle shifts of just cruising back into that miracle mindset. And my experience has been that the more I practice that behavior of getting back into that miracle mindset, the more comfortable I am in that place. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people watching may be in the place that you and I once were in, where you're more comfortable in the chaos and you're more comfortable in the craziness. But it's a lot more energy to be crazy, right, than it is to just let it flow.
It doesn't feel good either.
It doesn't feel good,
Yeah, I think so many people, especially with, you know, having a toxic lifestyle, toxic thoughts, food, you know, not exercising, not doing yoga, you just get used to that feeling bad. And, you know, if you do it once, that's a new feeling. That's scary, you know. So the more you do it, the, you know, better you get used to actually feeling good, which is kind of weird, you know, that most people don't feel good all the time, you know. And this whole series is sort of based on the main principle of my new book, May Cause Miracles, which is when we add up subtle shifts, we can create miraculous change. So for anyone that's having that experience of, oh, I don't know how to make this happen, it feels too big, it feels too lofty, let's use Tara as an example for today of, it's just those subtle moments of saying, I'm out, I'm going to go back to my yoga mat. I'm out. I'm going to sit in stillness. I'm out. I'm going to create a new commitment in this moment. And creating those subtle shifts, she slowly takes off her crazy mask and puts on her cape. I can see you almost like, I see you like a superhero. Like a superhero. Yeah, I mean,
you'll have that.